Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God. Back with you with the next video in my series, Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Without further ado, returning to Great Expectations. And thus, in the gloom and death of the night, we stared at one another. What a doleful night! How anxious, how dismal, how long! There was an inhospitable smell in the room, of cold soot and hot dust, and as I looked up in the corners of the tester over my head, I thought what a number of blue bottle flies from the butcher's, and earwigs from the market, and grubs from the country, must be holding on up there, lying by for next summer. This led me to speculate whether any of them ever tumbled down. And then I fancied that I felt light falls on my face, a disagreeable turn of thought, suggesting other and more objectionable approaches up my back. When I had lain awake a little while, those extraordinary voices with which silence teems began to make themselves audible. The closet whispered, and the fireplace sighed. The little washing stand ticked, and one guitar string played occasionally in the chest of drawers. At about the same time, the eyes on the wall acquired a new expression, and in every one of those staring rounds I saw written, "Don't go home." Whatever night fancies and night noises crowded on me, they never warded off this, "Don't go home." It plated itself into whatever I thought of, as a bodily pain would have done. Not long before I had read in the newspapers how a gentleman unknown had come to the Hummums in the night and had gone to bed, and had destroyed himself, and had been found in the morning weltering in blood. It came into my head that he must have been occupied this very vault of mine, and I got out of bed to assure myself that there were no red marks about, then opened the door to look out into the passages, and cheer myself with the companionship of a distant light, near which I knew the chamberlain to be dozing. But all this time why I was not to go home, and what had happened at home, and when I should go home, and whether Provis was safe at home, were questions occupying my mind so busily that one might have supposed there could be no more room in it for any other theme. And even when I thought of Estella, and how we had parted that day forever, and when I recalled all the circumstances of our parting, and all her looks and tones, and the action of her fingers while she knitted, even then I was pursuing here and there and everywhere the caution, "Don't go home." When at last I dozed in sheer exhaustion of mind and body, it became a vast shadowy verb which I had to conjugate. Imperative mood, present tense. Do not thou go home. Let him not go home. Let us not go home. Do not ye or you go home. Let them not go home. Then, potentially, I may not, and I cannot go home, and I might not, could not, would not, and should not go home, until I felt that I was going distracted, and rolled over on the pillow, and looked at the staring rounds upon the wall again. I had left directions that I was to be called at 7, for it was plain that I must see Wemmick before seeing anyone else, and equally plain that this was a case in which his Walworth sentiments only could be taken. It was a relief to get out of the room where the night had been so miserable, and I needed no second knocking at the door to startle me from my uneasy bed. The castle battlements arose upon my view at 8 o'clock, the little servant happening to be entering the trees with 2 hot rolls. I passed the postern and crossed the drawbridge in her company, and so came without announcement into the presence of Wemmick, as he was making tea for himself and the aged. An open door afforded a perspective view of the aged in bed.
"Halloa, Mr. Pip," said Wemmick. "You did come home, then?"
Yes, I returned.
"But I didn't go."
That's all right, said he, rubbing his hands.
"I left a note for you at each of the temple gates on the Charles. Which gate did you come to?"
I told him.
"I'll go round to the others in the course of that day, and destroy the notes," said Wemmick. "It's a good rule never to leave documentary evidence if you can help it, because you don't know when it might be put in. I'm going to take liberty with you. Would you mind toasting this sausage for the aged P?"
I said I should be delighted to do it.
"Then you can go about your work, Marianne,"
said Wemmick to the little servant.
"Which leaves us to ourselves. Don't you see, Mr. Pip?"
he added, winking as she disappeared. I thanked him for his friendship and caution, and our discourse proceeded in a low tone, while I toasted the aged sausage and he buttered the crumb of the aged's roll.
"Now, Mr. Pip, you know,"
said Wemmick.
"you and I understand one another. We are in our private and personal capacities, and we have been engaged in a confidential transaction before today. Official sentiments are one thing. We are extra-official."
I cordially assented. I was so nervous that I had already lighted the aged sausage like a torch, and had been obliged to blow it out.
"I accidentally heard yesterday morning," said Wemmick, "being in a certain place where I once took you, even between you and me, it's as well not to mention names when avoidable." "Much better not," said I. "I understand you." "I heard there's by chance yesterday morning,"
said Wemmick,
"that a certain person not altogether of uncolonial pursuits, and not unpossessed of portable property, I don't know who it may really be. We won't name this person." "Not necessary," said I. "Had made some little stir in a certain part of the world, where a good many people go, not always in gratification of their own inclinations, and not quite irrespective of the government expense."
In watching his face, I made quite a firework of the aged sausage, and greatly discomposed both my own attention and Wemmick's, for which I apologized.
"By disappearing from such place, and being no more heard of thereabouts, from which," said Wemmick, "conjectures had been raised and theories formed. I also heard that you at your chambers in Garden Court, Temple, had been watched, and might be watched again." "By whom?" said I. "I wouldn't go into that," said Wemmick, evasively. "It might clash with official responsibilities. I heard it, as I have in my time heard other curious things in the same place. I don't tell it to you on the information received. I heard it."
He took the toasting fork and sausage from me as he spoke, and set forth the aged's breakfast neatly on a little tray. Previous to placing it before him, he went into the aged's room with the clean white broth, and tied the same under the old gentleman's chin, and propped him up, and put his nightcap on one side, and gave him quite a rakish air. Then he placed his breakfast before him with great care, and said, "All right, ain't you, aged P?" To which the cheerful aged P replied, "All right, John, my boy, all right," as there seemed to be a tacit understanding that the aged was not in a presentable state, and was therefore to be considered invisible. I made a pretense of being in complete ignorance of these proceedings.
"This watching of me at my chambers, which I have once had reason to suspect,"
I said to Wemmick when he came back,
"is inseparable from the person to whom you have adverted." "Is it?"
Wemmick looked very serious.
"I couldn't undertake to say that, of my own knowledge. I mean, I couldn't undertake to say it was at first, but it either is, or it will be, or it's in great danger of being."
We'll go ahead and stop there for this week. As usual, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe,
as it greatly helps the channel.
Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.